3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
All right, welcome to Roots of Reality. I'm your host, Ben Baumann, and today I'm going to be talking about the history of basketball. So in 1891, the game of basketball was created by a physical education teacher named James Naismith. And this early version of basketball featured peach baskets for nets, where people were just trying to throw a ball into these peach baskets for points. Obviously showing just how much the game of basketball has changed over time when we think about this historical aspect of the game and all the different equipment that used to be used for nets like peach baskets. However, later, by 1895, this would become more than just a game created by a physical education teacher. Because by 1895, professional basketball teams started to form. And then by 1896, the first ever college basketball game ever was played between the University of Chicago and the University of Iowa, which featured a final score where the University of Chicago won by a score of 15-12, something that you would never see today in the modern game of basketball. And so just a few years after James Naismith invented this game as a physical education teacher, you had professional teams forming, you had universities creating teams, and the game of basketball would just continue to grow from there. For instance, the first professional basketball league started in 1898, which was known as the National Basketball League. And several years later, by 1949, the formation of the Professional Basketball League called the National Basketball Association, or as we know today for short, the NBA, would occur. And this would revolutionize the sport forever because this is the league that would actually have staying power and carry professional basketball all the way up to today, and would also popularize the sport of basketball into a global game where people from all over the world grow up playing basketball, dreaming of being a professional basketball player. Whether it be in China or Argentina or in France, anywhere, people just love the game of basketball. So when we think about basketball in the big picture and, the most successful teams of all time, the most successful team historically in the NBA is the Boston Celtics, who've won 17 championships, who absolutely dominated during the 1960s. In fact, at one point, the Boston Celtics won 8 straight championships. Additionally, out of the 22 NBA finals that the Boston Celtics have played in, they won 17 of them. So they have a super high winning percentage for the championships that they are contending for in the NBA finals and often win them when they are in it. In fact, even last year, the Boston Celtics were in the NBA finals, though they didn't win after losing to the Golden State Warriors. Now, when we think of international play, since this has become a global game and countries are putting out athletes all over the world to play in the Olympics, despite this, though, the United States has continued to dominate Olympic basketball, having won 25 gold medals, the most by a ridiculous amount, and has just dominated Olympic play for years and years and years. As a result, still to this day, it is an expectation that the United States basketball team will win the gold medal every year. And if they don't, it is usually considered not just a surprise, but really an embarrassment. In fact, the last time another country won the gold medal in basketball was 2004 when Argentina won it. And so when the U.S. doesn't win, it is considered like, wow, there was something wrong with that team. Despite this, though, as time has gone on, the rest of the world has made huge strides in basketball, as many nations around the world now obsess over the sport like Americans do. And as a result, this is shown by the growing success of international players in the NBA. For example, in 1994, Hakeem Olajuwon became the first foreign-born player ever to win the MVP award in the NBA. Then, 3 out of the 10 years in the 2000s, an international player won the MVP award. The winners were Canadian player Steve Nash and German player Dirk Nowitzki. However, even more interestingly, in the last 4 years, all 4 winners of the MVP award in the NBA were foreign-born players. For example, this was due to the Greek player Giannis Antetokounmpo and Serbian player Nikola Jokic, who both won back-to-back MVP awards. And thus, so right now we're really seeing kind of a turning point in basketball history where foreign players are beginning to challenge American dominance in a way we've never seen before, because they are just incredibly fundamentally sound as players and don't just rely on athletic ability to be successful in the game, but really get the fundamentals of how to be successful as a player drilled into their heads. As a result, they don't make as many mistakes, oftentimes. Lastly, though, it wouldn't be a conversation about the history of basketball without talking about the greatest basketball player of all time, which is obviously American player Michael Jordan, who not only led the Chicago Bulls to 6 championships and won himself 5 MVP awards, but also led the NBA in points per game for a record 10 years. Additionally, he also has the highest career points per game ever. And on the defensive side of the game, he also led the NBA in steals per game 3 different years. So add this to some gold medals, which he has won 2 of them, and you have quite the career. So with that, basketball has come a long way, especially thanks to icons like Michael Jordan, who served as these international cultural icons that helped inspire generations from around the world. And since Michael Jordan, the sport just continues to inspire people, having become one of the most popular sports ever. So with that, as always, remember, billions of years led to you, so make the most of it.